Hi guys, I'm Wilson Scribezoo, and this is GosuGamers extended coverage of the E-League FACEIT Overwatch Open Qualifier. Today we have the winners of the second EU qualifier from Rogue. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Tvique and I play for Team Rogue.
Yeah, so let's actually just talk about, your introduction into just competitive Overwatch in general. Like, what did you do in the beta, and how did you get noticed and picked up by your first teams?
I mean, in terms of like first teams and such in Overwatch, I made my own first team together with just like a bunch of pubbers that I usually played with. Uh, I was playing a lot with Seagull and Mixup and those people, but uh, I wasn't I wasn't in the team or anything. I was just pubbing with them. But then other people started surfacing into like different groups, and I started joining other different groups, and like really just like turned from that point. I was just playing a lot, and a lot of people like from just playing a lot, a lot of people saw me and like saw that I was doing really good in pubs as such. So I mean, at that point in pubs, it meant that like you were actually playing against other people that was actually pretty good at the game. It wasn't ranked or anything, so you couldn't like compare, but just playing against other good people, kind of like words around like private discords and such would just like go around, and well, basically I just made my own teams, and then I just from there got known.
Awesome. So let's go specifically, like in terms of your origins with Rogue. Obviously, you started off, I believe, on IDDQD with some of the envious guys. So how did that transfer to Rogue actually happen?
Well, it's not much that I like really like to talk about out in public. It's just well, me and Mendo decided that we didn't want to stay, and we were gonna go ahead and make a new team with some other players. It's um, it's nothing bad against the envious guys. Like I still like them, and they still like me, and we're still friends and everything. It's it's just like a decision made by us that we decided to go separate ways.
Yeah, of course, that's fine. So let's actually start by talking about the Overwatch Open qualifier. So this is obviously a while ago, I think maybe like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But to qualify, you had to beat the other team, Enox, Creation, and Reunited. This is obviously a very strong like list of opponents to go against. Who did you feel like was your strongest opponents at the qualifier?
I mean, I definitely say like it would dependent on the qualifier. We played in only two, but it's still like from the first qualifier, I definitely would say Anox was definitely like our biggest threat because, well, a few days beforehand, or like a week, like barely that, there was a new balance patch. And well, just 1 week from balancing patch, and you don't really know what is strong and what is not. Like a week doesn't actually give you like a very good idea about it. So like in that sense, like I think from the from the first qualifier, Onyx probably was the biggest threat because they came out of nowhere and surprised us, and actually beat us and got to the finals versus Misfits. And I think that game was pretty close off the top of my head. I didn't check, but I'm pretty sure that was a pretty close game as well. So, they came out of really surprising.
Yeah, no, of course. So I didn't want to start the interview on this, but obviously congratulations on winning the Atlantic Showdown. So in light of your victory, what were the biggest takeaways from that tournament?
Well, we play incredibly so much better on land than we do online. That's like, well, the biggest takeaway from anything really. Like we just show up and play so much better on land than we do online.
Yeah, so at the tournament, who surprised you the most? And I guess that can also build off into who do you feel like overperformed and who do you feel underperformed?
Underperformed in terms of teams and such like that.
Yeah, players and teams both both would be fine.
Um, I mean, I definitely say C9 kind of. I felt like they were underperforming a little bit. Well, a little bit. I mean, they went out like one of the first to go out, and I actually expected them to go further. But um, I think the rest of the teams, I guess Fnatic surprised me a little bit, and just because like they managed to beat Misfits twice, right? Yes, I think so. Top of my head, don't exactly remember, but the Fnatic guys kind of did surprise me a little bit. I didn't think they would get to the semis. Like I actually didn't think they would get that far. I thought they would like go out maybe in groups or like get like a little bit further. But I did think that Misfits was gonna get to uh, the finals. I was kind of thinking that it would, like realistically, you wouldn't really know who was gonna like do really well on LAN and such. So like just going off like online performances, I would have imagined Envious versus like Misfits maybe uh, would go to like the finals and then play in the finals because Misfits have been playing really good, and well, I thought they would do better than they did, but yeah.
Yeah, no, of course. And you guys obviously, I guess the big overlying achievement, sure, winning is great, but you guys also beat Envious and kind of stopped their big winning streak. Do you guys feel like you guys are the new kings of Overwatch, or do you feel that title still is with Envy?
Well, maybe Kings of Land, but no, no, definitely not. There's no such thing as Kings of Overwatch right now. Every single team can beat any single team in any day. It's way too close to like crown a definite winner or like a definite king. It's it's not possible at this moment.
Yeah, no. And in terms of like just overall region performance, EU had two finalists, and NA, also was able to bring two semifinalists to the thing. Do you feel like this LAN or the ESL Atlantic Showdown really showed like which region was better, or is it just mainly like different teams in different regions perform at different levels?
Uh, well, depends on how you classify Envious. I still classify them as EU because, well, there's still 5 EU players. But in terms of like practice, I'm not really sure because like it's really hard to say because I'm not entirely sure on how many hours a day the NA people practice. So like us Rogue, Misfits, and other teams, we put in a lot of hours into this. I know Misfits put in a little bit less because they still have some people working, but uh, our we and Rogue are putting in like at least like 8 to 12 hours, like almost every single day. Mo Looking mostly towards 8 hours, but we are putting a lot of hours into it, and I know Envious did at some point as well. I'm not sure what like has happened, but I'm still pretty sure they put in a lot of hours. I mean, they did that when I was still playing with them. I don't think that would change.
Yeah, of course. So looking forward to the European Overwatch Open final. So this is more E-League and Face It. Who are you most concerned about especially after the results of Gamescom? We kind of saw a lot more teams how they did on land, but looking forward, what teams are you most worried about in Europe at least?
I don't know if I would say worried, but definitely like looking out for would still be Reunited and Misfits, honestly. I'm not that worried about like, oh, well, worried, not that concerned about most other teams, but I'm definitely concerned about like Reunited and Misfits because, well, not Misfits, Reunited did beat us in the groups, and well, we beat them in the finals. So like that kind of shows you how close it is. Just like literally just 1 day difference, and the other team uh, takes the set. So it's gonna be about a month from now, right? The E-League, and it's gonna be. I'm pretty sure there's gonna be a like at least one balance patch, so we will see who adapts better. Like at this point, it's I don't know. It would be too hard to say at this point.
Yeah, of course. So what qualities make Reunited and like a lot of these other teams, what makes them strong versus, like let's say like what makes you look out for them or be more concerned for them?
Um, I mean, they put in a lot of hours into the game. I guess that would be like the biggest thing. Like when a new balance change comes out and the whole like meta changes, you need to be putting in a lot of hours into the game, and you need to like figure out what is best and what is working best with our playstyle and our team style and everything. And well, considering I know that Reunited plays a lot, they they are well, I wouldn't say they're really fast at figuring it out, but once they do, they get pretty good at their style, and then they keep to their style even if it doesn't like entirely always work, but they keep to it and they keep on playing it and getting really good at it.
Yeah, so looking specifically in your group, you'll be facing Gatekeepers, Pretz, and FaZe. Obviously, for kind of the more larger, well-known teams, there's a lot of, VODs available. You probably scrim a lot of them. But how do you go preparing for some of the lesser-known teams in the qualifiers?
I mean, lesser known teams, preparing versus them is kind of just like continuing practicing your game versus the better teams, just to like make sure that your game is strong. And well, if they come out with some surprising picks, it's either gonna be one because they haven't like scrimmed enough, so they haven't realized that the picks that they're choosing is bad on X scenario and such and such. And or two, there would be that they have figured something out that no one else has, and because they've only been practicing lesser teams, they will have like an upper edge versus everyone because they have a new tactic that no one else has practiced versus, and no one really knows what to do. So it's all dependent on how well you can adapt mid game and well come up with ideas to beat it.
Yeah. And building off of that, there's obviously, I think, one of the most notable things about the ESL tournament was the use of Mei in, I guess, on Hanamura. How do you guys go around like building a composition and theory crafting specific character uses on specific maps?
I mean, it's let's just say it's a lot of pub plays and then basically see what some pubbers do and just basically like just because there isn't that many demos, so like you can't actually look at demos or anything. Uh, you just like look at what other like basically just like maybe look back at your own VODs when you're streaming or something, and then just like look at what you just remember like this one guy he did something really interesting that I like remember seeing, and I just you go back and look at it, and then you go into custom games, so you just like keep on thinking about it over and over in your head. It's like like May, if you would take for an example May, she has this big ass wall that's it just covers the whole choke point of Hanamura. So you can put up a perfect wall and you can basically split the whole team, which makes for like two engagements, and both engagement is gonna be in a disadvantage for your enemies, assuming that you get the wall right and everything. Your enemies is going to be in a disadvantage in terms of numbers every single time they push in, and you're more prone to win these two engagements just because you get picks, and well, it's really hard for them to like synergize with the rest of the team and the rest of their picks just because you split one off. So maybe like you split the Zarya off from like the Zarya is on one side and then you have like your monkey on the other side. So the monkey, it kind of dies pretty quickly because he can't get the Zarya shield, which gives him a lot more survivability. So like in terms of distance, you need to when it comes to like thinking of specific hero picks on maps like Hanamura, for an example, you need to think where exactly does like a character like Mei shine? I mean, on the second point of Anamura, she doesn't really shine. There's too many entrances, so it's too easy to dodge the wall. So you can like just bait the wall out and then you go a different entrance. But like for on the first point, there's only one entrance and there's only one way. So Mei like a Mei wall right there is gonna be really strong. And considering it's kind of close quarter-ish as well, you can hit several people just like holding mouse one. You can just hit several people with it, slowing everyone down, making it easier to hit them. Or you just, as it is like kind of small-ish choke point, you just spam mouse two and you're probably gonna hit some headshots.
Yeah, no, that's actually a really good point to make. So moving forward, especially with the new balance patches and kind of, I guess, with different character picks rolling into the meta, possibly. For example, we saw KYB on the first point of King's Row with Hanzo against Complexity. Like, what characters do you feel are on the come up, or characters that we will be seeing more use of that we haven't seen in the past?
Well, I mean, considering how stupidly strong Sendyara is right now with his Discord Orb, it's kind of like is like he is that strong because of the Discord, and you can't out sustain the Discord in any way. Like it's literally impossible to out sustain a Discord orb, which kind of makes Anna and other supports kind of meh-ish in a way, just because well, the whole role of Anna and Mercy is that you can have that extra heal, which makes you out sustain your enemies, which makes like they need to be either overcommitting or disengaging far enough so that they can have another engagement before they lose like properly, like lose a fight or something like that. But so if you would be thinking the next balance patch and the next patch notes that's already been posted, I think we will be see a lot more different diversity in support picks And I think I even think that Lucio might lose his 100% pick rate in some maps. It's specifically like big, with like really big not choke point, really big map points, like Gibraltar last point for an example. Like that's a pretty good example actually, because it's really big. Like that point is really big, and with the new speed boot change, you might not actually be able to abuse the speed boost to its like full potential or something like that. So maybe you would see like a mercy with an ana pick, so you would basically be able to out-sustain any sort of spam damage just walking up the bridge or something like that. Not walking up the bridge, just walking up the hill, and they just like keep on walking like that. But like in terms of DPS, well, we will definitely see less Genji. I think he will kind of disappear almost like entirely, except for like niche picks. If like enemy team would like start picking Widow and Winston doesn't really work because they have like a Reaper for whatever reason, and you will need that Genji just to deal with the Widow. I think the Genji is gonna might be getting picked in that sense, but I don't think Genji will like have a place in the meta anymore, considering how the Discord is not just because of Genji's like specific Genji nerf, it's also because of the Discord nerf. And it's because of Discord that Genji is kind of ridiculously overpowered in a way, as it is right now in the current meta, which is kind of why you almost see him all the time. I mean, not all teams play him all the time, but most teams do.
Yeah, no, that's true. So with Genji slowly disappearing from the meta, in terms of King of the Hill maps in general, we've seen a lot of like, Genji Tracer usage specifically on that map. I think IDDQD like mentioned it as kind of like a death comp almost. So if we're taking Genji out of the equation, does that make Tracer overpowered, or do you start seeing like more reliance on other, DPS characters kind of coming in and filling the roles that they need to in King of the Hill?
Uh, That's the thing. Like why you see both Tracer and Genji is because both of them can stupidly overly commit to a fight and still survive the fight. Because like literally be sitting inside of your backline and just like sit there and deal damage while staying alive because because of the mobility they have and because of the Discord Orb and Harmony Orb is what makes them like such a good synergy together. And well, just because of the Discord Orb, they can basically instigate anyone. Like they instigate people just like all the time on specifically on CoF maps, which is why you see like both of them together, and probably together with another monkey as well. So you basically have like three people in your face that all deal a lot of damage to a specific target, and just because of that, you can get a numbers advantage really quickly. uh, like the synergy between the three, the monkey as Genji and Tracer is what makes it kind of a death ball comp. Just because you don't like you don't go half as in, you go full in and you fully commit to every single fight. And if you don't, you're probably gonna lose the fight because one like Genji can't survive without the monkey, and the Tracer can't survive without the Genji, and vice versa, and everything, and so on and so on.
Yeah, of course. So, kind of shifting slightly away from that, with the Discord nerfs gone down to 30%, that a lot of people have been saying that brings Pharah a little bit back in the meta. How much of a role do you think Pharah is going to have in the new meta moving forward?
Well, I played some earlier today on the PTR, so I got to play with the new Discord Orb, and well, basically, it's McCree still destroys Pharah on most maps. So we were basically like a map like King's Row, for an example, where you can be hiding like on top of the rooftops. I think Farah will be coming back on a map like that. On a map like Numbani, probably as well on the first and last point, just because like there's ways to like dodge the McCree, so he can't shoot at you while you can still shoot at them while it's dealing damage. So like you're basically hiding and then still doing damage. And well, because of the 30% Discord Orb, I mean, you don't get immediately destroyed by anyone. Like the Discord Orb still like you get that on you, you still have to play safe. It's still 30% increased damage on you from everything. So it's still not like just because it's 30%, it doesn't mean that Pharah will be immediately back. But I'm afraid I will be getting some picks, uh, dependent on maps, of course, and it's also really dependent on what the enemy team is running.
Okay. So yeah, let's shift off of the meta more so guy and just talk about some more Overwatch like, scene related stuff. So after having been at Gamescom and experiencing some of the work needed production side, so whether that be, for the stream or for, the fact that you guys are in person on the LAN, what are some things that you think that were done well and what are some things you think need to be worked on?
Well, something I definitely think doesn't need to be worked on. I think we need more numbers in terms of like statistics, which I think Jeff said in some blue post. Maybe something like that. Something more is coming soon. He didn't say anything specific. I think I just remember vaguely reading that it's more numbers and stuff like that will be coming soon, which is something that we need like desperately because, well, considering how much how much shit Reinforce we're getting this weekend, just because like the Causes doesn't realize that if he doesn't play, overly aggressive, it he kind of he kind of doesn't fit into the team because that is literally the playstyle of our team, and he needs to be playing like that aggressive. Otherwise, he would just like not like really be fitting into the team and such like that. But I mean, sure, sometimes people make mistakes and they go too aggressive at the wrong time or whatever. But it's like from Cos's point of view, I don't know. Like it's really hard to say really in terms of like what needs to be like changed immediately or like what needs to be really really worked on, but just like being able to get more numbers and just like being able to just read numbers, like getting basically just more data around different areas or like different fights and such, it would be a lot easier to analyze everything rather than how it is right now because, well, still the game is still really hard to follow, and without like getting specific numbers from specific fights, it's really hard to tell to see, like really hard to tell to that this guy is doing good and this guy is doing bad and this guy like he did absolutely nothing, this guy did absolutely everything. So I mean, numbers, need more numbers.
Yeah, so what about things that were done well?
Done well. I mean, bringing up the hype, I guess.
Yeah. So how does that feel for like your players in terms of just having the analyst desk also hype up in future games and as well as the fact that this I think was the first real broadcasted big of international event for Overwatch, and obviously the reception was great. I think numbers were hitting easily like 70K just on Twitch alone, and obviously international coverage was beyond that. Do you feel this was a very successful first event, and are you excited moving forward to look forward to the Overwatch Open?
I mean, I definitely wouldn't say it was a failure. I think my personal opinion would be that I think this was a really like good event and it was like really successful. And then of course, even if it is successful, there were still some like bad things about it. Like I mentioned earlier, casters kind of like calling people out a little bit too much, or like without any like real, I would say real reason. Because well, maybe I have some, I definitely have some more insight into uh, all of it, considering that I'm a player and I can see everything from like a different perspective and everything like that. But it's I don't mean I can't really say like point someone out specifically, but I definitely feel like it's still hard to for the casters to like really follow the game in such a way. But I definitely say in overall the event was really successful.
Yeah, so actually transitioning directly on that, a lot of people have that was a criticism of the event was in terms of casting, and obviously the casters are limited by I guess the resources we have. Obviously, we don't have spectator mode, we don't have those statistics. But what are your thoughts on players kind of moving into casting? I think a big name right now is Flame, who has, I guess, a former Splice player who now is doing a lot more VOD analysis, and I think he has said, I think a Twitter post where he mentioned like, would you guys be wanting to see me going into casting? What are your thoughts on players, going into casting, maybe for tournaments they're not participating in, or just adding that insight to the desk?
I mean, definitely, I would definitely think, eventually players will be either like getting tired of constantly training or like constantly competing or, for whatever reason, but they still, would still want to do esport work. So, I mean, soon enough, somebody will like stop playing and instead transitioning to being a caster. Like it's something that it's definitely needed because like well the best analysts are the players themselves because they've been playing the game. They know what's up. They know like when something changes, they know what to look for. They know like who to ask. Well, maybe not to ask, but they know how to get the information to be correct when analyzing things like that.
Yeah, of course. So, kind of moving on to some other stuff, this tournament probably spawned a lot of new players, and I think most importantly, there was a lot of really great DPS showings, at the tournament, probably inspiring a lot of players to, try to improve. What are some tips you would give to new DPS players to either, hey, improve and crack into the top 500, or just, improve in general and become a better player?
I mean, the best tip I can literally get is just the game is still so young that gaining experience is almost better. Like it has more, like almost more value. Well, I mean, it doesn't really have more value, but just because it's such an early stage in the game, just gaining experience is so valuable that some people might just consider you a better player just because you have more experience in whatever DPS role really. Like if you're the first or second DPS, if you're the projectile or the hitscan DPS, like whatever you choose to specialize in, it doesn't matter as long as you continue playing, putting in a lot of hours, and you basically just playing a lot of video games and just gaining your experience. Just keep increasing your experience, and you will eventually like get into a good team.
All right, I think that's definitely very sound advice. In the last question, before we move on to some other closing stuff, but you know, what would be your dream to kind of see in Overwatch in the future?
Um, well, I think, well, just basically getting like I don't know, just Blizzard just making the absolute best like what they can, just like realizing and making it making it real, all of like all the potential that Overwatch has, just making all of the potential that Overwatch possibly has, just making it real would just like honestly be a dream because I mean, I think the game has so much potential. Like we already see like high numbers in terms of like viewership, and if it keeps on increasing, we barely even have a spectator at this point, and people are still watching it. Imagine then when we have all the numbers and when we have everything. Imagine how many more people is gonna be coming and watching, and people gonna be thinking like, wow, this game is like actually really cool to spectate, and it's gonna keep increasing it like that. I mean, just keep on adding stuff, and it's just uh, that's all that is needed.
Yeah, and I mean that's something I obviously hope for a lot too. So as the interview comes to a close, would you like to give any shout outs?
Well, I would like to give a shout out to our sponsors of Rogue, which is So Elite and On It, and that's about it.
No shout outs to your fans?
Well, I mean, that's an obvious one. I always shout out to the fans in my stream, and well, kebabs.
Yeah, of course. And on my side, obviously, thank you for GosuGamers for hosting this interview, and of course to Face It and E League for where this is kind of based. We're obviously talking about the E League qualifiers, the E League Face It Overwatch Open qualifiers that are coming up, and I think that honestly starts tomorrow with a lot of the group play. So thank you so much for them allowing us to do this interview, and of course. Make sure to catch the coverage on their end. So right below us, both our names is our Overwatch, our Twitter handles. On mine is scribeow with a one, and below Tvique's is rogue_Tvique. So obviously, thank you so much for the interview. I mean, I definitely learned a lot, and I know that you're about to go right back to the boot camp grind. So good luck on that.
Thank you.
All right, and have a nice rest of the day, and I hope to see you guys soon.